There's a moment in every person's life when the world tells them who they are supposed to be. For most of us, that verdict comes early, shaped by our circumstances, our family status, and the opinions of those around us. But what happens when you refuse to accept that verdict? What happens when you look in the mirror and see something completely different? This is the story of a young man named Arjun, and how he taught me that our limitations are nothing more than a story we keep telling ourselves. Arjun grew up in a settlement on the edge of a city I won't name, in a neighborhood most people drove past without really seeing. His father had migrated there decades earlier, hoping to build something, but life had other plans. By the time Arjun was born, his father had given up on those bigger dreams. He worked as a casual laborer, sometimes at construction sites, sometimes at warehouses, whatever temporary work he could find that day. It was enough to keep the family surviving, not thriving. His mother had been a talented seamstress before Arjun's younger sister was born with a chronic condition. After that, she spent most of her days managing her daughter's medical needs and care. Education had never been her priority. Survival had. So when Arjun was old enough to understand his situation, he understood it completely. There was no money for extras. No money for private classes, for tutoring, for the kinds of opportunities that kids from better neighborhoods took for granted. His clothes were hand-me-downs from cousins. His school uniform was faded from washing. When his classmates talked about weekend outings, family vacations, or the latest technology, Arjun would sit quietly and pretend to be interested in something else. He learned early that poverty wasn't just the absence of money, it was the weight of invisibility. People looked through him, not at him, but inside, something else was happening. Nobody could see it because Arjun kept it carefully hidden. But every night, after he'd helped his mother with chores, after he'd done his homework by the light of a single bulb, he would sit by his window and imagine a different life. Not a life of luxury. That felt too distant to even fantasize about. But a life where his family didn't have to worry. A life where his sister could get the best medical care. A life where he wasn't defined by the size of his father's bank account. He had this habit of writing, not journals or diaries, but detailed plans. Plans for businesses he would start. Plans for problems he could solve. Plans for ways to add value to the world. He'd read articles on borrowed smartphones, watch educational videos in internet cafes, pick up discarded newspapers to learn about successful people. He was hungry for knowledge in a way that was almost desperate. But here's the thing about having big dreams in a poor neighborhood: people notice, and they don't always respond kindly. His neighbors would joke about it. "Look at Arjun, making his plans," they'd laugh. "What's the point? Your father couldn't make it. What makes you think you can?" His classmates had a different approach. They pitied him. They'd invite him to things out of obligation, then seem relieved when he'd decline because he couldn't afford it. Even some teachers seemed to have already written his future for him. They'd praise his intelligence, but in a tone that suggested they saw it as a tragedy. Like they were looking at a talented bird in a cage, knowing the cage would never open. The worst part was when his own father said it. One evening, Arjun was telling his father about an idea he had, something about fixing old electronics and reselling them. His father listened quietly, then said, "Beta, these ideas are good for boys who have resources. For boys like us, we should focus on getting stable work, a permanent job." That's enough. That night, Arjun cried. Not because his father was being cruel. He wasn't. His father was being practical, based on everything he'd experienced. He was trying to protect his son from disappointment. But in that moment, Arjun felt something breaking inside him. He felt like his future was being decided without his consent, written by people who had already given up. The person who changed everything was neither famous nor wealthy. Her name was Mrs. Sharma, and she was the librarian at the local government library. She was in her late 50s, wore simple saris, and spoke with a quiet authority that made people listen. She'd noticed Arjun coming to the library every day after school, spending hours reading, writing in his notebook, sometimes just thinking. One day, she asked him to help her organize some books. As they worked, she asked about his plans. Arjun, for the first time, talked openly about his ambitions. He expected judgment. Instead, she said something that would echo in his mind for years. Do you know why most people never achieve anything? Not because they lack intelligence or opportunity, but because they need permission. They need someone to believe in them before they believe in themselves. I'm giving you that permission. She didn't just offer encouragement. She became his mentor in the most practical sense. She brought him business books she ordered from the city library. She connected him with successful people she knew who'd grown up poor. She challenged his thinking when he complained about circumstances. Most importantly, she helped him see something he couldn't see about himself, that his poverty wasn't his weakness, it was his education, his forced resourcefulness, his hunger. Arjun, she told him, you've already learned the hardest lesson any entrepreneur needs to learn, how to do more with less. That's a superpower most rich people never develop. You're not starting behind. You're starting with an advantage you don't even realize yet. With Mrs. Sharma's encouragement, Arjun started small. He had noticed something in his neighborhood. A lot of people had old mobile phones they didn't know how to repair or troubleshoot. So he taught himself phone repair through YouTube videos at an internet cafe. He saved money from small jobs, bought some basic tools, and started offering repairs from a small corner in a local shop. He charged very little, but he gave exceptional service. His first customer was Mrs. Sharma's nephew, who broke his screen. Arjun stayed up late watching videos, practiced on old phones, and fixed it perfectly. He charged barely enough to cover his costs, but that customer told 5 friends. Those 5 friends told more. Within 3 months, he couldn't handle the demand anymore. This is where his resourcefulness kicked in. Instead of renting a dedicated space, which he couldn't afford, he partnered with a small stationery shop owner, offering him a percentage of his earnings. He worked there during the day after school and in the evenings. He continued his education because he refused to abandon it. He knew that knowledge was the only inheritance he could guarantee himself. As his phone repair business grew, something shifted in Arjun's mind. He started seeing not just a business, but a movement. He began training other young people from his neighborhood in the same skills. Some of them couldn't afford formal education and were drifting. By teaching them repair skills, he was giving them the same thing he had, an income that didn't depend on someone else's charity or whim. He reinvested every rupee he made. He bought better tools. He took online courses in mobile technology and business management. He started reading books about successful entrepreneurs, not their motivational stories, but their actual business strategies. He learned about margins, inventory management, customer service, and scaling. Within a year, his small repair corner had expanded. He opened a second location in a neighboring area. Then he realized There was an entire market for affordable phone accessories and protective gear. He couldn't manufacture these himself, but he could source them smartly and resell them at honest prices. He reached out to wholesalers, negotiated bulk purchases, and built relationships that would become the foundation of something bigger. What fascinated people wasn't his success, it was how quickly he moved from one stage to the next. But to Arjun, it made perfect sense. Each step solved a problem he'd identified. Each expansion came from listening to what his customers actually needed, not what he thought they should want. By the time Arjun was 22, he had 4 repair shops and a growing network of trained technicians working for him. But he wasn't satisfied with just making money. He was thinking about the ecosystem he was building. Many of his employees came from backgrounds like his own. They had potential, but limited access to opportunities. So he created an informal training program where they could learn business skills while working. He also started a scholarship fund, small but real. He couldn't send 10 kids to college, but he could help 1 or 2 every year. And he went back to the library and volunteered, offering career guidance to kids who looked like the version of himself he'd left behind. Mrs. Sharma watched all of this with quiet satisfaction. By this time, she was approaching retirement, and Arjun had become like a son to her. One day, she said, "You know what you've actually built? It's not just a business. You've built proof. Proof for every kid in this neighborhood that their circumstances don't decide their destiny." But success wasn't a straight line, and the script wouldn't be honest if it suggested it was. There were failures. A supplier cheated him and he lost money. An employee he trusted stole from the business. There were nights when the debt felt suffocating, when he wondered if he'd just been lucky rather than capable. There were moments when the old doubt crept back. Was he really building something, or was he delaying inevitable failure? What got him through these moments wasn't motivation or confidence. It was discipline. He had built a habit of showing up to his shops, to his books, to his plans, even when showing up felt pointless. He had learned that consistency is the antidote to doubt, and that momentum builds slowly but compounds powerfully over time. He also surrounded himself with people who believed in the vision. Mrs. Sharma was one, but he actively sought out others, people who'd overcome similar obstacles, mentors in different fields, customers who became advocates, employees who became partners. He understood that success is a team sport and that asking for help was a strength, not a weakness. Fast forward 5 years from his first repair shop. Arjun had expanded into a completely different space. He'd partnered with a tech training institute to create affordable certification courses for people without formal education. He'd secured space in a commercial area and built a proper headquarters. He'd employed over 40 people. He'd also started consulting for other young entrepreneurs, sharing the exact playbook that had worked for him. But the most important transformation had nothing to do with money or business expansion. His mother no longer worried about his sister's medical expenses. His father had stopped taking daily labor work. Arjun had brought him into the business to handle operations. His younger sister had the opportunity to pursue education seriously, something that had seemed impossible just 5 years earlier. And Arjun himself had changed. The desperation had transformed into purpose. The hunger had become strategy. The people who once laughed at him now wanted to hire him, learn from him, or partner with him. But what struck Arjun most wasn't their change of attitude, it was realizing that their approval had never actually mattered. What mattered was that he had stopped seeking permission to dream. When Mrs. Sharma finally retired, Arjun threw her a celebration. Hundreds of people came. Customers, employees, people whose lives he'd touched. She pulled him aside and said something that crystallized everything he'd learned. You grew up believing that poverty was a cage, and the world reinforced that belief. But what you discovered is that poverty wasn't the cage. The cage was inside you. It was the voice that said you weren't enough, that your dreams didn't matter, that you should accept less because you had less. When you broke that internal cage, your external circumstances changed so quickly because they could finally match your actual capability. She continued, "The real lesson here isn't that you worked harder than others. It's that you worked different. You didn't try to imitate rich people or their strategies. You did more with less. You solved problems with creative thinking rather than capital. You built relationships instead of buying influence. You listened more than you spoke, and you never stopped learning." Here's what I want you to understand about this story and why I'm sharing it with you today. The world is incredibly good at categorizing people. It looks at where you come from, what you have, who your parents are, what school you attended, and it draws a line. It says, you belong on this side of things. That line is what everyone around you will reinforce. Every time you fail, every setback will be used as evidence that you chose the wrong side. The line will feel like truth. But lines only exist if we agree they exist. Arjun's success wasn't miraculous or special in the sense that he had access to something others didn't. He had less access than most. What made the difference was deciding that his circumstances were not his destiny. It's a simple thing to say, and an incredibly difficult thing to actually do, because society will not support that decision. Your friends might not support it. Your family might not support it. The statistics definitely won't support it. But somewhere inside you, if you look carefully, there's a mirror. Not an actual mirror, but an image of who you could be, what you could accomplish, what kind of life you could create if you refused to accept the world's categorization of you. If something in Arjun's story resonated with you, if you felt that spark of recognition when he refused to accept his father's practical wisdom, if you felt the weight of other people's low expectations, if you've ever dreamed bigger than your circumstances suggested you should, then this message is for you. Your next step doesn't have to be a giant leap. It doesn't even have to be a step that anyone else validates or understands. It can be as simple as Arjun's first repair job. It can be as quiet as reading a book that expands your thinking, or reaching out to someone who believes in you, or starting to take one small action towards something you've only dreamed about. The people who change the world rarely start with advantage. They start with belief. They start with hunger. They start with one small action that contradicts the story everyone has written for them. So I'm asking you to be that person today, not tomorrow, today. Find that mirror, look at it, really look at it. Not at your circumstances or your limitations, but at the person who could exist if you protected that vision the way Arjun protected his. Clean the mirror when others throw dust on it. Feed it with small actions and big ambitions. And share this. Share your journey with someone who needs to know that their story isn't written yet. Like this video. Subscribe to stay updated on stories of transformation and resilience. Join this community of people who refuse to accept other people's definitions of their potential. Your greatest chapters haven't been written yet. They begin the moment you decide that you're not bound by where you started. Begin today. Begin now.